Hey everyone, welcome back to Coding from Null. Last week we learned some cool tricks with some CSS to give our users kind of the feel that our application is running just a little bit faster than it actually is. This week we're going to kind of do something a little bit different. We're not going to be really covering like a very specific topic. We're going to kind of be blending some of the stuff that we've already learned together to kind of create something else. So what we want to do is we want to set up some icons on the lower part of our application that allows our user to go out to like our Facebook page or Instagram page or what have you. So we'll just set up some social links there, but we're going to set them up in a way where we could potentially add more in the future or maybe less, and it would still look good, just to give us sort of that flexibility that we can reuse this for multiple different sites and stuff. So I'm really excited about this one. Let's go ahead and dig in.
All right, so here we are where we left off last week. Now what we want to do is we want to have our social media icons down below here like we have in the final solution here. What's really important about this is, again, we're trying to build this in a way that is customizable. So no matter if we pass in 2 social media icons, 3, 5, whatever, we want it to lay out nice and neat like it is here. And we will dig into that more when we start going into the CSS portion of this video. For right now, I originally intended to go ahead and go through Inkscape and create the icons and stuff, which is what I did to create these icons. But I don't know really the value associated with that. We went through and if you want to dig more into like Inkscape and how you can create SVGs yourself, we did have a tutorial where we went through and we made this cool little gear here, which is cool. Things like icons like these, you're probably better off using something like Creative Market, where you can just go on and, I mean, you can get a bundle of an insane amount of icons for like something like $5 or something real cheap like that, which for me I think is worth the investment without having to kind of it takes quite a bit of time to make these sort of icons, especially when you start getting into something like this Twitter one where you got to cut circles and things like that. So I'm definitely a huge fan of Creative Market. It's a real nice place to go to get any sort of like fonts or icons or anything like that for pretty cheap. And this is the Inkscape that we use to create that other SVG. You can totally do that. If you want to try to challenge yourself, make some icons, go ahead and do that. I'll have a link to both of these in the description. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go into the component that we have, our high order component, this coming soon component. How many times am I going to say that word? But so here we have our state, all this stuff for our subscribe, our notifications. We need to add one more in here for all the social media links. Now I already put some SVGs in here for the Facebook icon and stuff like that into our images folder. So that's where you want to go ahead and pop any of the SVGs that you have. You can go ahead and steal the ones from the GitHub repo on this, and that's where you want to put all the icons at, so we have access to them. So what we want to do is add into our state object, we want to add the links for all of our social media stuff. So what I'm going to do is actually, I think I'm just going to put them right here. Add another, actually this is going to be links, and it's actually going to be an array. Go ahead and put that there. And so in this one, we're going to have several objects here. And they're all going to have the same structure. So I'm just going to map these out here real quick. And so I can just do these all at once. Do 3, and then 4 objects. Okay. And if you hold down the Alt key, you get this really nice feature in VS Code where I need to tab these ones in, but you can get several cursors there. So I'm going to say I need a URL for each of these. I'm going to need a logo, and then I'm going to need some text that we're going to show on the bottom for each of these. And then, so the URL is going to be where is this going to point to for either your Facebook account, your Twitter account, what have you. So I'll just go ahead and build these ones out here for me. This is facebook.com/groups/coding from null. Now our logo is going to be the logo here. We actually need to import all these in, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Up here, I'll just do this, 2, 4, and then alt, we'll say import, I'll just say from, and then I think all these are in /images / okay, and so we want to import, we'll say Facebook from images. We have this as Facebook. Actually, this is, what is this? fbookicon.svg. Okay. Import our next one here will be Instagram. This is just instaicon.svg. And then our next one here will be YouTube. Be from YouTubeicon.svg. And then our last one is Twitter. And this is twittericon.svg. So now we can go ahead and use that here. So the logo is just going to be Facebook. And then our text for this one is going to say join. I'm going to go ahead and fix all these tabs here real quick. So next URL is going to be for Instagram. So we'll say https://www.instagram.com/coding from null. And the logo is just going to be Instagram, and our text is going to be follow. This one is going to be for YouTube, so actually this one's a bunch of stuff here. I'm just going to copy this over. Okay. The logo is going to be YouTube, and the text is going to be watch. And then we've got the last one is our Twitter, which will be https://www.twitter.com/coding from null. And the icon is the Twitter icon that we imported in, and our text is just going to say tweet. So now we have all of the data that we want to pull into the component that we're going to make here. So let's go ahead and go into our components folder, create a new file. This is just going to be called links.js. And go ahead and import React from React like we did with all of our components. I haven't created the style sheet yet, but let's just go ahead and import that right now so we don't forget later. We'll just say styles / links.css. And we'll just say export const links equal to, and then we are going to pass in as a prop an array of links from our application state object, and then we'll go ahead and return some JSX here. So the first thing that we want to do is we'll just go ahead and wrap this all in a div and give this a class name of social links. Now what we want to do is map over each of the links and create a nice little representation of it, which is going to be the image and then also the text here, and then the link that will actually go out to that site, whether it's Facebook or what have you. And what's nice about doing it this way is, again, for if we have 3 links, if we have 4 links, if however many social links we decide to pass in here, it will produce one for each. So we'll just say map, and then we'll say link, and then from this we're going to return. We're going to have an anchor tag. Give this a class name of social link, singular. Oh, I also want to add some attributes in here. Target is underscore blank, and rel, which is no opener, no refer. I like to add this on stuff because I don't want someone, even though they're clicking on a link, I don't want them to go away from my site. I want them to stay on my website, right? So what these links will do is when you have it as blank and no opener, no refer, instead of just, I'll show you an instance here. So we'll click on the Facebook one. So instead of opening up in the same tab, it's going to open up a whole new tab, which is nice. I like to have that on there. And then, so the href for this link, let's say href is going to be the link.url, which is the URL that we set in state. Now for each of these are SVGs. So, and we also want to be able to style them with some CSS. And how we can do that is by using an object tab or an object tag. And the object tag will allow us to sort of pass in an SVG, but then also give us the capability to then style it with CSS so that we're not having to basically hard code the SVG into here. And we're also not using an image tag because an image tag won't let you style that SVG with CSS. So we're going to use an object, and we're going to give this a class name of social logo. And then we're going to set a type is equal to image / SVG plus XML. And then the data that we pass is going to be the actual link to that SVG, which is, we put that as link.logo. So one thing for the object tag is for image tags, you have like the alternative text, which is an attribute. For the object, we just pass it in as the text in between the tags. So we just say link.text. And now the last thing we want is we want to have that either join, follow, watch, or tweet at the bottom. So we'll say span, and this will be a class name of social text. And inside will also be link.text. So I have something going on here of either that was bad. I think I messed up a little here. Go there. That is that. And then there we go. So we're looping over each of the links, and then we're producing this nice little anchor tag with an object and then the social text below it. Well, let's go ahead and I'm going to just format this real quick so it's a little bit cleaner. And for now, let's go ahead and just comment this out so that this thing doesn't end up puking on us. Let's go in here, and so what we want to do is import that links into our main component. So we'll say import, and then this is links from /links, and come down here. So we want to destructure out the links from state. So we'll say links, and then go ahead and pop in here the links component. And for the links, we're going to pass in links. Go ahead and give that a save. And so now we are pulling in all those images. They're not spaced very nicely. They're kind of taking up the whole screen. We click join, we see, okay, those are working just fine. Although, probably a good idea to go through and test them all, make sure they all work. But the main part's done. We got the data in state, we're passing it down to the links component. And if we were to say, let's go ahead and we'll take the Twitter one out here. And so now still has no problem rendering those out. But we want to make sure that they render out nice and neat across the bottom there. And again, regardless of however many links that we happen to have. Go ahead and save that. So now what we want to do is go ahead into styles, create a new file. This is going to be blinks.css. And we can go ahead and uncomment that now. Go ahead and give it a save. Still good, not throwing up on us. So the first thing that we want to do is style that first initial social links div that kind of wraps the whole thing. So we'll say social links, and we will give that the grid area was social, and we'll say align self and we want to display grid on this, and we want to, this is kind of the key here, how we're going to be able to handle whether there's 2 icons, 3 icons, or what have you. We're going to say grid autoflow, and this is going to be column. So I believe default for grid is row, but we definitely want to specify column so that if it has another object on there, or another this has another child element, that will be put in as another column versus being put in as an additional row. And then we want to put the grid template columns here as well, which is another piece of it, is we want to use this repeat function, and we're going to say auto fit, and then we'll set a minimum and maximum of 50 pixels or 1 FR. So it's going to auto fit them on the column. Minimum size of the column is going to be 50 pixels, and the maximum size is going to be 1 FR. And if we say justify items center, and then give it a little bit of grid gap, 30 pixels, give it a save. Let's see what we have here now. So definitely not really what we're wanting, because the icons are really super big, but we can see how it's nice and laid out in 4 different columns. And then if we were to take one of these out, still doesn't matter. It still just pops them on one on each column there. Give that back a save. So now what we want to do is start actually styling the link itself. So we can kind of set some rules as far as the sizing and stuff, so it's not taking up the whole screen like that. So we'll say social link, we'll give this a color, we'll say bar dash white, and we will give this a grid column, and max 50 pixels, 1 FR. And we need display grid on this as well. This is going to be kind of a grid inside of a grid, because we want to be able to give this a little bit of gap and stuff here in between this follow and just make that look a little bit nicer as well. Give this a font weight of 500. So grid gap on there. And that is 10 pixels. We'll justify items center. We want to set this text decoration to none so that it doesn't have this line over beneath the links. We will actually do that ourselves when we hover over it, and then we will just skip this actually, that is all we need. Okay, so that's the link, which the link encompasses, if we look back at the link here, link is the actual anchor tag, but we've also got the logo and the text inside of that. So we'll come in here and we'll say .social logo, and we will give this a width of 60 pixels. We should shrink down our logos here, so we're looking pretty nice there. And then we'll go ahead and set the social text, and we'll just say font size 16 pixels. Okay, so we're looking really good there. The next thing that we want to do is just make sure that this looks good at all different ratios. So if we start getting real tight in here, see how this kind of starts kind of squishing up against the buttons here? We'll do, to alleviate that, we'll go at media, and we'll give this a max width of 700 pixels, and we'll just say dot social links, and give this margin top, let's say 20 pixels, and just so they don't go over the size of the screen, if it gets real small, we'll just shrink down that grid gap just a little bit. So now when we go in, kind of just gives us a nice little bit of a separation there between the buttons and the links there. And so the last thing that we want to do is on hover over here, we want to show something there that it's kind of showing that it's being active. Like here, we kind of got this nice little kind of fade. We want to underline these and also fade this. So we want to set a transition on the link here as well, so that when we transition that brightness, it doesn't just snap in there. We'll have it nice and ease in. Go 0.3 seconds and ease in. And let's do a hover here. Go social link hover. And on that, we are going to filter the brightness to 85%, and then set the text decoration to underline. So now when we hover over them, we get this nice little fade, and we get this nice little underline under the links there. And so that's pretty much it. So now if we go back to coming soon, let's go ahead and let's take one of these out. Comment this out. Go ahead and give it a save. And see how it realigns everything nice and neat every time. And that's because, for one thing, we are using React to map over each of the links. So no matter how many links there are there, it's going to map over them, and it's going to produce this nice little guy here. And on top of that, we're using some CSS grid, mainly this repeat here for the and this grid auto columns and this repeat function here to just auto fit them as they come in, no matter how many there are. So if we uncomment all these out again, they come out always nice and aligned right. So we're looking pretty good there. Next week, what we are going to start digging into is some React dev tools. And in fact, actually, we can kind of dig into some of that right now, which is actually probably a good time to do it. So we've had a couple of times where we've actually mapped over something and we're producing, some sort of elements on the page, whether it's these up here, the clock, or these guys right here. The issue that we're having here is that it's on both instances, it's telling us that in React that we don't have a key problem. And how React keeps track of those elements after it's mapped over, say, an array, and it's produced those elements is a key. And if it doesn't have a key, if something changes, it's going to re-render everything instead of just that one item that's changed. So how we fix that, which is really quite easy with array here, we'll go for each link, and then we can also access the index of the array, and then we will just set the key equal to that index. And so if we go ahead and give that a save, we see now we've only got one warning. We had two before. Now the first one is in the countdown. And if we go down here, we will see a similar problem. So we have key I, we actually have the index here, but we're not using it. And how we can do that is we just go on the countdown segment, we just say key equals I, give it a save, and now we've cleared out those errors. And we will dig more into the console, mainly the React tools for the console, or like digging into the components and stuff that we have on the page, and we will start going into that next week. And I'll see you all then.